Welcome to my LOVEUltras vlogs. I'm John Kynaston and this is episode 21. I'm going to carry on with my series of countdown to the Northern Traverse race in May, and so I've completed 1 week of training now. Just to say thank you for the comments I've had on a bit of feedback. I put a link on the Northern Traverse Facebook page, and a few people got in touch. 1 or 2 competitors, other people who are doing the race as well have got in touch. People like Martin Webb and Jen Scotney. I don't think I've met Jen. I've met Marcus Scotney, Jen's husband, but it's great to see that Jen's doing it, so I hope your training is going well, Jen. Karen Nash as well, who's a friend that I've ran a few times with. We did ran quite a bit together when we did the 10 Peaks in Brecon Beacons a couple of years ago. So Karen's down to do the race as well. She said it depends on how her foot is, but hopefully she'll be there okay. Jim Parker was a little bit concerned about saying it was 18 weeks, whereas he thought it was 19. I must admit, I wasn't quite sure which way to do it, because I want to record these on Sunday, put them out on sort of Sunday night, Monday, and I was thinking, well, like this one, the race is 18 weeks yesterday, but by the time it goes out and people watch it, it'll be 17 weeks on the following Saturday. So I decided to go for that way. So basically it's now Sunday the 7th of January, and I'll put this out later on today or tomorrow, and then the race will be 17 weeks the following Saturday. So that's the way I decided to do it. So hopefully I didn't panic anybody thinking that they had 1 week less of their training. Darren Dury also got in touch saying that he's currently injured and able to run, so I hope you're feeling better soon and able to get back on the trails. And then good friend Andy Cole put a good comment on saying don't worry about preparation time and how you're feeling. He felt it's more important to get the bigger things right and make sure you've got your plan. So he's given some great ideas about planning for the race, in the sense of making sure you know when places are open to get food and this sort of stuff. So I'm gonna either get in touch with Andy and have an interview with him maybe, or also just talk about the plans for that. And once I've done some recce runs, then I'll get an idea of what's available on the route as well. And then I had a message from James Thurlow, the race organiser, and James said if I've got any questions or anything that he can help me with, then that would be great. And I got back and said, do you fancy doing an interview for this vlogs? So he's up for that, so we'll do that in a future episode in a few weeks' time, and I'll ask James some questions and find out a bit more about the race from his perspective. So just want a little pattern on these for these countdowns. I'm going to do a little review of how my training's gone over the past week. I'm going to talk about a particular topic, and this one is going to be about my training plan, and particularly my plans to do some recce runs on the route, and then also just talk about the plans I've got for the coming week. So just looking back on this week, I've ran 3 times, and that was the plan really. I think I spoke last time that I might run Sunday, but I've decided not to run today, and I just want to be cautious with my ankle. It is feeling okay, but I'm just cautious that I don't want to push it too hard. So basically this week on Tuesday, Katrina and myself, we were off. It was 2nd of January, so we went up on the Braes and did just over 8.5 miles, or just under 8.5 miles. And it was tough conditions actually. It was really muddy underfoot, it was really windy and really cold, and so we sort of kept moving, but there's a few bits where it's quite exposed. And it's funny because it's only less than 2 miles away from where I'm sitting now in our house, and yet the conditions up there were totally different. We left the house thinking, oh, it's quite pleasant, but then by the time we got up there it was pretty muddy and quite tough. But that was the first sort of longish off-road run I've done since I've started coming back, so it was great just to be out on the trails. And even though it was a tough little run, it was certainly a good one. Part of my build-up as well is to do the Hardmoors 55, and Katrina's doing that, so we're going to run that together. So that was part of our training and preparation for that one. And then I must admit I was a little bit concerned after that run because I could feel my ankle a bit, and I was thinking, oh, am I biting off a little bit more than I can chew? But Wednesday it felt better, and then I went for a run on Thursday. Just over 6.5 miles, and it was just a nice little comfortable run, a fairly slow pace, and the ankle felt okay really, so that was a bit encouraging. Friday I had off, I was in work, but I went for a little walk at lunchtime just to sort of stretch my legs a bit, and that was good. And then yesterday we joined the Glee Club. Now the Glee Club's a little group of runners in Scotland that have got together. It's a Facebook page, and various people organise different runs, basically once a month, even though in January there's a couple of runs. But it's a great little group. There was 21 of us, I think, yesterday met up, and Carol Martin organised the route. It was a cracking little route, and did it last year, and we went the opposite way round this year, went clockwise round the loop rather than anti-clockwise, and that was better because there's a really muddy bit which last year came early on, whereas this year was near the end of the run. But it was a cracking day, hardly any wind, no rain, and it was just really, really good run. So Katrina and myself, we both enjoyed that, had lots of chats with different people. It was great just to catch up with older friends and meet one or two new people as well, and just have a chat. So that was good. And it took us, well, we ran from the car park at the bottom. Most people met at the higher car park, which is a couple of miles further up. So we did an extra sort of 4 miles. So I ran 17.73. So it was that was the longest I've done since DNFing in the West Highland Way, and my ankle coped with it really well. I made sure I was comfortable. I stayed near the back of the group the whole time. Didn't try to push too hard at all, and it just felt quite comfortable, and my legs feel okay today, so that was pretty pleasing. So this week I've ran 32.73 miles, and so I feel that's just been a little bit step up from what I have been doing in December, and again that was on 3 runs, and quite happy with that. So I feel as though it's been a good steady start this week, and I feel quite comfortable with what I've done. So, thinking about the race, the thing I want to talk about on this vlog is my training plan. And what I've done is on the computer I've just had a little look at my plan and my training and how things fit together. So I'm going to show that now, and then I'm going to chat a little bit more about my plans to do some back-to-back runs. Here is my spreadsheet that I tend to use for my training. I quite like just to keep it fairly straightforward, so I can see the types of run I do, the distance I run, and then I put in these yellow dots the pace. So Thursday's run was an easy 6.53 miles, and the pace was 9:14. When I wear my heart rate monitor, I will put that in there as well. So it just gives me a bit of an idea. This adds up my total for the week, and if I do some cycling as well, I'll put that in and just add up the cycling totals. Now, normally for a race like the Northern Traverse, I would have all this filled in. I would have my sessions on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, but I'm just a little bit cautious at the moment because of my ankle and just haven't got the insoles yet. So I'm just gonna hold fire a little bit on my training plan. But if we head down and we'll go backwards, so basically 17 weeks on Saturday is the start of the Northern Traverse race, and I just put in there roughly it'll be 75 miles a day with another 40 on the Monday, but we'll see how that works out. And then I'm going to work backwards then on my training. So what I've done first of all is just to put in the Saturday runs, my longer runs. As I said, I'm going to add to this as the weeks go on. Hopefully, once I get my insoles, the end of January 29th is when I get my insoles, and I'm hoping to be able to pick up and run further after that. So I'm just playing it by ear a little bit. So this is the plan. So this Saturday we're off. Tomorrow I'm recording this on Friday, but I'll put this out on Sunday evening. But plan to do a run tomorrow, 17 miles with the Glee Club in Arica, which I'll mention later.
And then next Saturday, Katrina and myself will do a run on the Glenelg for Braes. Following week, we'll do an 18 mile on the Kilpatricks. And then we've got the West Highland Way training run. This goes from Balmaha to Inversnaid and back, and hopefully I'll be feeling okay to be able to do that full distance. Then the next Saturday we'll have a shorter one, and then another Glee Club run on the Orkhills Hills, and then we'll do a long 40 miler. The reason we're doing this is the Hardmoors 55 is on the 17th of March, and Katrina's running that one as well, so we're building up. So the plan is we'll do a 30 mile run the end of January, a 40 mile run the end of halfway through February, and then 4 weeks we'll build up to the Hardmoors 55. And then the weekend after the long run, I'm going to do my first Northern Traverse recce. And I've planned 3 of these basically. This one in February, this one the end of March, beginning of April, and then 2 weeks later the last one at the end of the 14th, 15th of April, and that will be 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks before the race. So they're my big stones really. I've got this 40 mile run there, that will be 55 miles over that weekend, the Hardmoors 55 race, and then 2 weeks later another 55 mile recce run, and then another 55 miles on that recce run, and then it will build up to the race. So when you look at a training plan like this, you realise that the race is not that far away, and these big stones in a sense are the ones that I want to try and put in. I've put in a hill walk there, and then another one there in between the sort of recce's. And the idea of those, I'm going to choose a route which has got lots of ascent and descent, and I'll be running them, but I'll be probably walking all the ups anyway. So that will just give me a chance to practice my walking. Then, as I said, I'm going to fill in just how much I do during the week. And my thought at the moment is I'm not going to do much speed work. I normally love to do a fartlek session on a Monday night with the club, but I've decided for this I'm going to experiment because of my ankle and because I'd like just to try things a little bit different. I'm not going to do that this time, so I'm not going to do the Monday night sessions, at least to start with. I'll see how it goes in February, sort of March, but my thought is, and then during the week I'll probably love to do some sort of hill run. So as the weather gets better, then it'll be up and down Ben Lomond. Before that, I may sort of do another Kilpatrick's run in the week, or a Braes run, or even a Conic Hill, something like that. So I'll do at least one walk, run, hill, run during the week, and then another longer run as well. And then I will be doing some back-to-backs. I just want to see how it goes in my ankle. But the idea is on some of these, I would do the Glee Club, Katrina will be there, and then I'll do a sort of a 10, 11 mile run the next day on my own. Same with this one, and this hill walk and this one. So we'll see just how it's going on those. As far as the recce runs, I'll speak about those separately, because I just want to sort of talk through my plans of doing the recce runs and how I'm going to do that. But I thought I would just show you my broad plan for my training for the Northern Traverse. I say this is probably different style for me. I would normally have a lot more sessions put in by now, but I thought, well, at least if I start with the bigger ones at the weekend, and then I can go from there.
So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a flavour of what I'm doing. Since I did that on Friday, and so obviously that was before I did the run yesterday, and there's probably a couple of tweaks already that I'll probably change. One is that I realised that one of the back-to-back weekends, the second one, is actually Easter weekend. So I think I might move that to Friday, Saturday, so I can go down on Thursday and do that Friday, Saturday. And then there was maybe one or two other things I will change other things, but that was the main one. I'd probably move that weekend a day forwards to do Friday, Saturday. Now, recce runs on the route are really important to me. It's part of the fun for me. I like to get on the route. I like to be able to take my time, take some videos, take some photos, which means on race day I'm more focused actually on just completing the race and getting involved in that. and I think it's just really helpful to be on the route, to get an idea. The best way of training for a run is to run on similar terrain, so if you're actually on the route, then it's great. Obviously, when here in Scotland, if it's a race, the West Highland Way, I'm close enough to be able to do that quite easily. This takes a little bit more logistics, a little bit more travelling to go down, but it's probably only at 2.5 hours really down to the route, so it's not too bad. But it's certainly worthwhile, and I say, for me, it's part of the fun. Now, I've got 3 weekends planned, and ideally what I'd love to be able to do is cover the majority of the route in that 3 weekends. So try and do 35 miles on the Saturday and 25 on the Sunday, so it gives me 60 miles over the weekend. And if I could cover 60 miles each time, then that would be 180, so pretty well the whole of the route. But when I started looking at it, it was going to get really difficult to be able to do that on my own. Sometimes when I was down the lakes with Dave, and when I've done other routes, I've been able to leave the car, get the bus back, and then run the 35-40 miles to a point. But just looking at the logistics of doing this on this route, it just became quite difficult. I did think the first time of going to Rothwaite and then getting the bus back to St. Bees and then running there, but the bus was going to take about an hour and a half to get round, and then when I thought about other places, it just looked really, really difficult. And even if someone else wanted to come with me, which would be great, but you'd have to meet at the finish of where you're going to go, take one car back to the stars, run to the finish, and then drive back to get the car, and it just seemed to be a lot of logistics to be able to try and do that. So reluctantly, partly, I've decided maybe the best way to do it is out and backs. And so what I'll do is I'll go to a point, and then I'll run 17 miles back, and then back to the car, and then the next day run sort of 12 miles out and 12 miles back. So I probably won't be able to cover the whole route doing it that way over 3 weekends, but looking at it, I think I should be able to do round about 75 miles of the route, so it's probably just over half, but it will give me a sort of an idea of the terrain and the route. And there are parts of it which I have done before, so I've tried to miss those out a little bit. Probably what I'm going to do is the last sort of 30 miles I probably won't do at all, but some of that is familiar on the North Yorkshire moors, and maybe that will be sort of a nice incentive just to be looking forward to that last bit. Navigation wise, I'll see how the recce's go, and so this is fairly fluid, but this is my plan at the moment. So the weekend of the 24th, 25th of February, I'm going to go and base myself at Rothwaite, and I'll run back 17 miles or so past Ennerdale to a point there, and then run back to the car. And then the next day I'll go the other way, so I'll head out east and I'll run for sort of 12-13 miles, and then turn around and then run back. So that will give me that 60 miles over that weekend, and I'm planning to try and do it as comfortably as possible. Hopefully I'll have my insoles by then, and I'll be able to sort of cope with that sort of distance over the weekend, but I think that should be a really good time. I may even get in touch with Dave Trollman, my friend in Keswick, and see if I can stay with him for the night, because it's only just up the road, so that might work out quite well. If not, I can just sleep in our car. We've converted our Volkswagen Caddy into a little camper van, so we've got a full bed in there, so I can find a campsite and stay quite comfortably. So that will be the first weekend. I'll sort of cover that first bit. And then the next weekend, that's the Easter weekend, so that will be probably do it Friday the 30th of March and Saturday the 31st. And I'm going to base myself at Kirby Stephen for that one. And on the Saturday I'll run back towards Shap, and that's about 18 miles, and then run back to Kirby Stephen, stay the night there, and then the next day run out east. So again, run 12-13 miles and then turn around and run back. So that will cover that bit, and that's a part of the route that I've never done before. So that will be quite good to get a good feel of that part of the route and that section. And then the third weekend, which will be the 14th, 15th of April, so that will be 2 weekends later. And so basically I'm seeing April as being a big block of training. So I'll have done a back-to-back weekend. I plan to do a sort of a hill walk the next weekend and get some good climbing done, running and walking in Scotland. And then the next weekend do the final recce weekend. And I'll base myself at Richmond for that one, and again I'll run back 17-18 miles and then run back to Richmond, and then the next day run on from there 12 miles and then run back. So I think that's going to give me a real a sense of the route. As I say, ideally I'd love to do A to B runs every time, and then I could pretty well cover most of the route over those 3 weekends. But given the logistics, I just think it's going to be a lot easier just to base myself in one place and run out and back twice. Not as I say, not as beneficial in some ways of seeing the whole route, but it will give me a chance to see a good part of the route and get a good feel of the navigation and all that's going on there. So that's the plan for my training and the bigger things that are in place. And then we'll see how that goes. I say it's going to be flexible, but I find just getting those in the diary so I know that's where I'm going to be on the route will really sort of help. And if anyone's watching this who'd be interested in joining me, then do get in touch, and it'd be good to have some company on those runs as well. This week I've decided I want to try and run every other day, or certainly if I had 2 days together, have easy days. So I ran obviously yesterday. I didn't run today on Sunday. So tomorrow works out quite well at work. I work near Pollock Park and I can go out for a run at lunchtime. So I'm going to do an off-road run and take my trail shoes and just do a slowish run, 6-7 miles around the park at lunchtime. And then Tuesday I won't run again. I might cycle to work if I can, or I might go for a walk at lunchtime and just take it easy there. And then Wednesday I'll do another off-road run, and again slowish, just sort of taking my time and enjoying an off-road lunchtime run. Thursday I'll just do an easy 5 miler, and then next Saturday Katrina and myself we're going to aim to do 15 miles up on the Glen for Braes. So that will give me round about sort of 32 miles again for the week, which I'm quite happy with. I just want to build up slowly through January. So if I'll run that's 4 times this week, but all of it will be nice and slow, nice and comfortable. Most of it will be off-road, and that will just give me a good start. So I hope you find this one helpful, and my thoughts of my training and how things are going in this first week. So until next week, have a great week, and I look forward to chatting to you next weekend.